Man, it's always a satisfying feeling whenever you clean out the fountain, drain all the water, and put new fresh water in with a chlorine floater and some granules. Looks really nice for about a week, and then it turns into a murky mess, but it's coming along. What's going on, guys? So today's video is hopefully going to be an interesting video for you, especially if you watched the previous video on this specific topic. Since then, you know, another video from another YouTube creator called Rigor RV Repair, you know, he's been putting out a bunch of really good content. I know he has an app and a way of helping you like shop for an RV and check off certain things that could go bad and just understand what you're getting into, which is always really nice. He's definitely put a lot of creativity and a lot of time and effort into his channel, as well as the content and the topics in it. But he created a video that absolutely made me reevaluate a video that I recently made, and that was all about weight distribution and understanding how you could potentially be damaging the front A-frame section of your RV. So I posted a video about this not too long ago, and in that video I basically said that if you have too much or excessive weight distribution, you stand the risk of possibly damaging this section of the A-frame of your towable travel trailer. Now, that video, I think a lot of people understood that if you have a tremendous amount of weight distribution, you're creating this arch effect, and that arch effect in turn is putting pressure in specific areas, mainly right here, back of your truck, front of your truck, back of your RV, and the more weight distribution you add, the more pressure, again, is being applied to those specific areas. Now, in Rigor's video, he did a fantastic job explaining a scenario that can happen which will absolutely damage the front A-frame section of your RV. And that is, whenever you're hitched up to your weight distribution hitch and you take an angle like this, if your RV is flat and you go up a hill and you're going like this, that process alone will add significantly more downward pressure to this area of your A-frame, and it can also damage it. That's probably the more practical scenario that can occur, right? If you are going down a hill, it's less likely because you're obviously going to be removing some of that weight and tension off of your A-frame. But whenever the truck has to go, let's say off-roading, which he also pointed out in his video, and the truck goes this way and the trailer's still flat until it gets to that point, those spring bars or whatever you're using that press down on this section of the A-frame are going to have significantly more pressure pressing down on this section. So whenever you see RVs that have damaged A-frame sections, you have to think about what could have occurred to cause that to happen. The effect of going up a hill, or the truck and trailer not being at the same level whenever the truck is pitched up and the trailer is flat, or if you're going just even up a shallow driveway. If you have your weight distribution hitch bars in place, you're probably adding thousands of additional pounds worth of downward pressure to this front A-frame section of your trailer, and it can definitely cause that section to fail. So that is probably the more common and more kind of scary scenario that you don't think about until you're in that situation. So he also brought up a really good point. If you're going to be pulling into a parking lot, let's say you're on a public roadway and you need to turn into a McDonald's, or you need to turn into Walmart, or you're just exiting, and that exit has a ramp, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to get out and, you know, disconnect your weight distribution hitch bars so you don't have that effect? The short answer is it's probably a good idea. Pass by, turn around, find a more level area where you can pull over briefly, take the pressure off your weight distribution system, and then approach that area. Or perhaps another idea might be whenever you get to the area where you're going to be going, you know, the roundabout area where you're going to be going camping, and you know you're going to stop, or you know you're going to take a break, right when you get into that space, if you have a rest stop, if you have an area that you could pull over, go ahead and disconnect weight distribution. It's not going to have a huge factor on you when you're going slower through a city. Weight distribution really is most impacted when you get up to 45 plus miles per hour. But again, just keep in mind, would you rather go slow with a disconnected weight distribution hitch, at least the spring bars, or would you rather have your trip ruined because your RV is now broken and you're yelling at it because it's failed you when you needed it during a trip? So something to think about. So I know this obviously begs the question, does the brand of weight distribution hitch matter, or do they all do this? And the answer is, well, kind of. So weight distribution is pretty much the same regardless of the brand of hitch you have. They do it kind of in the same way, right? You're hitched up, you apply weight to downward force right here, which essentially creates an arching effect. With B&W, it's done a little bit differently, just in terms of how you adjust that weight distribution and how simple or difficult it is. Other brands like WaySafe also have very unique ways of doing it, so you can dial in your weight distribution really, really well. I would say the one great feature of the B&W is the fact that you don't have to disconnect. What do I mean by that? So with most weight distributions that use spring bars, you're going to have to relieve the pressure off of those spring bars, slide the spring bars off so that downward pressure on this A-frame section on the L brackets that are attached to the A-frame isn't there anymore. And then you can traverse whatever angle you can articulate to that's safe, right? When you use the B&W, it's really as simple as just bleeding off the pressure so you don't have to remove the bars. So the process of weight distribution is very similar with every hitch out there. The difference with some versus others would be the convenience factor if you do have to, you do have to go over certain types of conditions that are unlevel and you need to remove the weight distribution aspect and the force that's pushing down on the A-frame. And that's, again, where this hitch probably is a little quicker than others, but you still need to do it. You need to get out. You'd need to bleed off the pressure out of here so there's no more downward pressure pushing on your A-frame. And then when you get back up into the gas station, into the shopping center, wherever you're at, into the RV park, wherever you're going, that you had to traverse that, unlevel area, then you can add weight distribution back if you need it. But hopefully you'll be close enough to your destination that it's not as important. But again, this is just something most people just don't think about. It's kind of like if you have a motorhome and a towed vehicle behind you, sometimes you have to learn things about things you can do whenever you're towing a vehicle behind you and things that you can't do when you're towing a vehicle behind you. And I think just getting yourself in the best possible scenario to avoid that excessive amount of downward pressure on your A-frame is really the key. So yeah, some hitches will give you easier ways to address it in terms of bleeding off pressure or removing that pressure and without needing to disconnect the system to some degree. But all of them are going to require some type of adjustment before you go up those inclines if you want to avoid possibly putting too much force on your A-frame. Now, one other topic that he brought up in that video, and it's one that I've talked about several times in previous videos with weight distribution hitches, a lot of people live with that mentality that bigger is better, stronger is better. And they'll get a 12,000 pound rated weight distribution hitch with 12,000 pound rated spring bars for a 6,000 pound trailer. That is not what you should do. The reason for it is because those spring bars are significantly stiffer. They are pretty much a solid steel piece of metal that requires a tremendous amount of pressure for them to bend. And when you have a heavier trailer with a much, much larger, thicker front A-frame section, it definitely may be warranted for an RV that, again, is 11,000, 12,000 pounds. But if you're hauling a 5,000 or 6,000 pound trailer and you're like, you know what, I need to get the biggest, heaviest duty weight distribution hitch out there, you don't do that. Do not do that, because that's going to make things worse. You want spring bars that have the capability of working the way they're intended for the weight range of RV that they're intended for. So if you find a weight distribution hitch and they have a lighter weight version that has 8,000 pound spring bars and then 10,000 and 12,000, and you have a 6,500 pound RV, then you're obviously going to want to go for the lowest or the lightest duty version of that hitch, as long as it still exceeds the gross vehicle weight rating of your trailer. And that's simply to make sure that they have the ability to bend and flex the way you want them to whenever you're adjusting weight distribution. Anyways, his video is really great, so I have to give a big shout out to Rigor RV Repair. He's put out a lot of really great videos, including a lot on plumbing issues, and definitely recommend checking him out. This is not any type of a sponsored thing between me and him. We actually have never collaborated or talked, but that might be something we should do in the future. Anyways, guys, please let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.